Alright, my awesome Code Unknown family. Today we're tackling something that's been on my radar for ages, but always felt a bit mysterious. ASMR. You've probably heard of it too. Those whispery, clicky videos that somehow have millions of people hooked. For the longest time, I didn't get it. What's the big deal? But recently, I cracked the code, and let me tell you, it's fascinating. We're diving into what ASMR actually is, why it works, and why some people swear by it while others feel nothing at all. Spoiler, it's got absolutely nothing to do with dungeons, mass, and chains. Well, or maybe chains. Anyway, let's get into it. ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, is a tingling feeling some people feel when exposed to certain sounds or visuals. It's like a chill that starts at the top of your head and runs down your spine, maybe even reaches your fingers or toes. If you've never experienced it, it might sound completely mad. Triggers can include whispering, finger tapping, crinkling of paper. I had to find something then. And brushing sounds. I don't have hair, so I can't brush. But for some, it's a deeply relaxing sensation, often called a brain orgasm. Now, personally, I wouldn't go that far, but everybody's different, and certainly recently, I've found it incredibly relaxing. So what is the science behind ASMR? What's actually going on in your body during ASMR? The truth is, we're not entirely sure. Science is still playing catch up. In 2018, the University of Sheffield studied ASMR by showing videos to 112 people. Half of them felt tingles, while the other half felt absolutely nothing. Some researchers think that ASMR might be linked to something called misophonia. That's when certain sounds like nails on chalkboard trigger a strong negative reaction, but ASMR flips that on its head, turning sound into pleasure. It is also believed that there's a connection to something called synesthesia, where one sense triggers another. For example, people with severe synesthesia might hear colours or taste sounds. With ASMR, certain sounds trigger a physical feeling. It's not just sounds though. Visual ASMR is huge. You've probably seen those YouTube videos of people cutting soap into perfect squares or squishing colourful slime. It seems so simple, but for some, it's incredibly soothing. It's what's commonly referred to as visual white noise. I'll give you an example. For me, one thing that's really helped me sleep lately, because anyone who knows me knows I struggle with sleep sometimes. But lately, there's one type of ASMR which is meant to be an eye exam. And what it does is it shines lights in your eyes through obviously the screen of the phone, etc. And for whatever reason, obviously I'm not getting the brain orgasm, I'm not getting the tingly feelings, but for whatever reason, within 10 minutes of that video starting, I'm asleep. Combine these visuals with sound, and you've got the ultimate ASMR experience. Case in point, the one and only Bob Ross. Yes, that Bob Ross. And if you're too young to know who Bob Ross is, he was, and still is, a painter. And he had a painting show on TV. But his gentle whispers, the scrape of his knife on the canvas, and those happy little trees make him an ASMR icon. Dr. Craig Richard, a researcher and author of Brain Tingles, even said Bob Ross made his brain feel fuzzy and relaxed as a child. And honestly, same. When researching this, I came across Dr. Richard's notes about Bob Ross, and I went and had a look. I watched a couple of his videos, and I was astounded. Watching Bob Ross paint was like somebody hugging my brain. And within a very short space of time, all the stress that I feel from day-to-day life just melted away in a symphony of Bob Ross mumblings. But here's where things get a little bit unique. Some ASMR creators roleplay activities like hairbrushing, makeup application, or even being a teacher. It might sound silly, but it taps into something primal. Studies show that ASMR triggers mimic the brain's response to being cared for. It's not the touch, it's the attention. On YouTube right now, there is something that triggers something for everybody. And everybody's triggers are different, and that's what makes ASMR so personal and incredibly fascinating, which is why I'm doing a podcast episode on it now, because I find this incredibly intriguing. And anyone who listens to this podcast or watches videos on my channel, I feel will probably feel the same way, because we all have that sense of wanting to know the unknown, and which is why my channel's called Code Unknown. And ASMR, although has a mystique of possibly something a bit dirty, is actually anything but. It's something that even mainstream science can't explain. And speaking of science, this is where we get into the real kicker of all this. ASMR might actually be good for you. Studies show it can lower your heart rate, reduce stress hormones like cortisol, and even mimic the effects of meditation. It's not just a quirky trend, it's a legitimate way to relax and de-stress. But why does it work for some and not for others? We don't fully know yet. It could be your physiology, it could be your upbringing, it could even be your physiology, it could be your upbringing, it could even be cultural influences. You know, like I mentioned earlier, it's a bit dirty. What we do know is that the human brain is a fascinating, complicated, and downright weird thing. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. So, my awesome listeners, what about you? Have you ever felt those tingles? Have you ever tried ASMR? Are you thinking of trying it now? Let me know in the comments below, or send me a message. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're enjoying this podcast, do me a massive favour. Hit the like button, press subscribe, and share it with your mates. Every bit of support helps this mission stay alive. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, you are appreciated.